go, Jim. He's dead.
Welcome to Improv Autopsy. I'm Stephen Cadwell. If this is your first episode, welcome. I'm glad to have you. If you've been listening for a while, you may already know that one of the things that drives this podcast is exploration of how interconnected the improv community is. This is the first part of an interview that started as a lark. Through some internet searches, we discovered that Dean Haglund had a background in improv and had devised a one-man improvised X-Files show that he'd performed at conventions over the years, so we reached out. Through the course of the interview, it became clear that not only does Dean have a deep and abiding love of improv, but he was also a colleague of and directed by a colleague and show director of mine from Florida, Lyle Moon. And the Improv Murder Board got a new string. I thoroughly enjoyed my conversation with Dean, hearing about Vancouver theater sports, the X-Files, the genesis of his X-Files show, which is the first long-form improv show I've encountered that explicitly draws on short-form games to achieve its goal and sounds like a heck of a lot of fun. If you enjoy listening to Dean in this podcast, you'll enjoy his own podcast even more. You should definitely find him over on Substack if you're at all interested in the entertainment industry. Dean is an improviser, so he's a better storyteller than your average industry aficionado. I'll put the link to his Substack in the show notes, or you can look up deanandphil.substack.com and check it out right now before you enjoy part 1 of Dean Haglund's Improv Autopsy. Thank you for doing this, by the way. I really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. I always love talking improv.
When did you first become aware of improv, and when did it become part of your consciousness?
Let's see. So I'm born in Winnipeg, and I was trying, I was not of legal age. So I had this fake driver's license to try to get into bars that were doing open mics, but mostly they were terrible rock bands. And so they had very few stand-ups. But I was at an open, Old Market Square is a historic part of downtown Winnipeg that had a little open summer thing. And I saw the Upset Stomachs with Kyle McCullough, which was an improv group from the University of Winnipeg. And Kyle went on to be a writer with South Park. So I sort of, ran into him from time to time. And that's where I first saw an improv group take a suggestion and do a scene. And I was like, oh, hey, that's easier than doing stand-up. What have I been doing? But I still wrote jokes and did stand-up at the same time. But then I moved to Vancouver, and Vancouver had an amazing perfect storm in 1986 because Vancouver had the World's Fair. So they opened a second city at the expo, at the World's Fair, and they hired Second City Toronto touring guys and basically combed the country for the funniest improvisers, flew them out and housed them and paid them $35,000 for the year to do shows in Vancouver. So then everybody went, oh my God, Vancouver is a great city. The weather's perfect and we're working. And then so they all then jumped on this little back alley theater that had an actual theater sports. So when Second City ended after 6 months, when the Expo 86 ended, all of those performers stayed and started jamming with the Vancouver Theatre Sports. And then that league became about 35 to 40 strong. And that was like, you had Ryan Stiles, you had Colin Mockery, Richard Side, like all these big names, Gary Jones. And so you had this huge group, but I wasn't part of that. I had moved out independently and I was doing amateur night at Punchlines. And Punchlines had this owner, Rich Elwood. Hey, Toots, hey, terrible jokes, but great guy. And when they would call, because, stand-up 80s was on a boom, corporations would often come to Vancouver to have their annual events or go up to Whistler and do their, shareholders meetings or whatever. And they'd call Punchlines to hire a comic. And Rich would take all the gigs. He wouldn't pass them off to struggling comics. He took them all. And he was foul, a dirty joke guy. And they'll go, hey, keep it a little low on the F sharps, would you? Because what? Yeah, hey, fuck you, do it. And he'd insult the boss's wives and he would just ruin it. And so everybody go, hey, there's this other group in Vancouver that we saw. I don't know if they would do corporate events, but they're called Theater Sports. And so one day they got a call and they just brought a whole team and the ref and everything out to a corporate event and just tried to recreate a theater sports event, which had an MC who was a referee and then 2 teams on benches of 4 people each. And you judge each scene and everything. It's like a, fake competition.
Yeah.
But they went, oh yeah, we'll pay for that. And so they did that. And then basically we honed it down to just doing games for with three improvisers. And I would make a living off that. You get like back then $150 per show, but you could do like four corporate events on a Saturday, another five on a Sunday, and then the rest of the week you're performing. Tuesday night was amateur night, and then I performed. I did 10 shows a week for 4.5 years, and corporate events on that, all the way up till I started shooting the X Files, basically.
Now, when you were there, you were doing stand up initially?
Yes, I first started at Punchlines.
And how did you get connected into theater sports?
Well, Rich really liked improv, and he was really good friends with Ryan Stiles. So they had started the No Name Players, which was an improv group that would perform on Wednesdays. I was doing weeknight shows. I wasn't really because I was still an amateur. So you, as an amateur, you do Tuesday night, amateur night. But if you could get a couple laughs, you could be an opener on Wednesday and Thursday, and then they'd have real openers Friday and Saturday, right? And so I would come on the Wednesday, see the improvisers, and they'd see my show. And I had long hair and wore a leather jacket, but did really way too intellectual jokes, like Archduke's Franz Ferdinand found alive, World War I a mistake. It's like so dumb. And then I think it was Gary Jones said, "Hey man, you should come over to Theater Sports. They got a Tuesday night, or no, you can do workshops for free, a drop-in workshop for free on Sundays, or just throw money in a hat. And then from there, the rookie night was Tuesday nights. So it was like, oh, cool. So I started doing that, and then did rookie night for a year till found my teeth, and then put me on Saturday night, and I never looked back. And then just did it the whole time.
And were the regular shows paid as well, or just the corporate gigs?
Well, okay. So God bless Vancouver. They had a mandate for a while that if you get around a zoning law, you have to put 10% toward the arts. So it was this underground restaurant parking structure that had a fitness exclusive club on the roof, on the top floor, like a penthouse private club gym. And so they said, okay, if you get that, you have to build a 150 seat theater on the main floor. And so they built that, and then it was supposed to be subsidized. So it was supposed to be subsidized by the city for rent. And it was at Robson and Thurlow, one of the top 10 in the Pacific Northwest in terms of traffic flow and expensive retail, right? And I think within the first 6 months, we were getting paid. And then the city said, yeah, we're rescinding the
Oh.
subsidy. It's going to be market rate, $16,000 a month
Oh.
in 1988, I think it was, or 89. Yeah, somewhere in there. And so luckily we were selling out. We had lineups around, but all the box office went to solving that $16,000. And so we all had to work for free. But everybody who was doing main stage for free was being first choice for corporate events on the weekend. So you were like, oh, okay, you're just going to work twice as much, half of it free.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was weird seeing the show, sell out every show that you're doing and then go, oh, yeah, sorry, you're doing it for free because we can't afford their rent. And they were trapped in a lease, too. Some artistic director before whoever signed a 10-year lease without a guarantee of maintaining the price. So it just went to market value overnight. And once our lease ran out, they kicked us out and made it a McDonald's. So, God bless Vancouver.
I wonder how many places built theaters like that were then turned into fast food chains later because of similar circumstances.
Similar circumstances. Because I know that was a big thing sort of in the 70s and 80s is like, oh, well, we'll keep the arts alive by having it mandated in terms of development. And then even when we tried to save a theater on Granville at 12th called the Stanley, the idea was to turn this vintage 1926 movie theater to a state-of-the-art live theater, right? And it was supposed to have a second floor where theater sports could be, but they couldn't figure out the soundproofing based on a historic building. You can't really F around with it too much. But what we could do is sell the air rights above the theater because it's a historical theater and the neighborhood is zoned for 30-story apartment buildings or whatever in that neighborhood. Because it was historical, we would never be allowed to tear down a historical building and access the other 28 stories of air above us. So, what we could do is sell the air rights above us for a price to another developer who is going to build a 30-story, but now he got an extra 22 stories, so he could build a 55-story condo in a neighborhood that's supposed to be zoned for 30. And so we were at City Hall and they said, well, I hope you're proud, you artists, you performers, you've just ruined the city skyline. We did not. We're selling air. Oh my God. It was like just trying to guilt us into whatever to fundraise. But yeah, air rights for historic theaters and churches too. They did that a lot. So yeah, I think it's done in New York, but it seems pretty shady in my books.
So they built over it? How did that work?
No, the fact that you can never build over it, you just sold this artificial air over it to the building next door, sort of thing. And then they could go up 55 stories instead of 30.
Oh, okay. So they could Lego, you're just taking that block and putting it on top of the other?
Technically, yes. That
Oh,
air that you're allowed.
yeah.
Yeah, that space. That's why it's called air space, because it's just air,
You're right.
but it's theoretically the space that it's zoned for. But because it's historical, you can't tear it down. But you are allotted that space above you. That is yours technically, because you have that historic building. And so you can take that and you could sell that off. It's sort of like carbon tax offsets, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm polluting. Oh, I'm under polluting. So I will sell my carbon tax credits to you and you keep polluting and I'll keep under
Yeah.
polluting and it'll all balance out. It's like, I don't think that's quite right either,
Yeah.
but everybody does that.
If the city really wanted to prevent that, they should have put a height limit and not a
Yeah. Yeah. And not just selling off air. Because theoretically, that one developer could go to every historical building in the neighborhood, buy their air rights, and make a 200-story mega skyscraper or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
And I think some of them have done that, other than Vancouver's a terrible earthquake zone. So I wouldn't want to be on floor 200 when that thing strikes.
It'd be a hell of a ride.
Yeah, exactly.
Were you connected then after you got connected to theater sports and you're doing all the shows? It doesn't sound like you probably had much time, but were you connected to any independent groups that did anything outside of theater sports?
There was a couple, but again, the money was to be made. Like anybody in Vancouver who knew, go, hey man, I want to see an improv show. Oh, you know where the funniest of all of Canada is right now? In just back alley theater. So that would always be lined up. So other people would like get disgruntled with the way it ran and everything, particularly those who weren't working for free and were not getting corporate events. So they started to branch off and do other smaller corporate groups and stuff like that. I guess some were successful, but nobody did comedy sports and eventually because theater sports did all of it. We did scripted, we did heralds, we did long form, short form games, all of that. There was no group that could really individualize themselves going, oh, we're only doing heralds.
Yeah.
No, we do heralds as well. So yeah, and we did. I was Spock in a musical called Star Trek the Musical, so we wouldn't get sued. And that was a hit show that ran for 5 years. And I did 431 performances in a row without taking my understudy in. So that was kind of a thing that also, branched out. It's like the Beatles in Hamburg. You playing all the night and you're doing everything. You're doing every crazy thing you possibly can. So it sharpened my instincts.
And you and that understudy are thick as thieves still, right?
No, actually, I think Lyle Moon would cover for me. Believe it or
Oh,
not,
wow.
he directed it. He directed Star Trek the musical, and then because we were both kind of tall and kind of skinny, we could alternate. And then so the times I couldn't do it, he would take over as Spock. So that was pretty fun.
So it wasn't as if he was chomping at the bit to get in and you were preventing that.
No, no, no. He was directing, and he was I think he was an organizer of corporate events then. So he was working in the office every day and stuff. So yeah. And theater sports in Vancouver still, I think their operating budget's $2.1 million just on box office that they get. No government subsidy art grants.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. It's quite phenomenal. It's built into the culture there now.
Is it owned by theater sports, or are they paying dues to theater sports?
They were paying dues. because the first half that started theater sports were actually graduates of Keith Johnston in the university in Alberta, where he went to Victoria in the 60s. He was doing improv games and theater school there. And then he moved to Alberta. And that's where Patty Stiles became his assistant. But yeah, so he had taught the first group, and he was much more into experimental, being a 60s theater teacher,
Yeah.
and bringing up ancient improv games, arms, and stuff like that. He would be very much on, okay, let's all be a napkin ring on the floor now. And, and sure enough, stories of the early days of Vancouver theater sports would be somebody would just come on stage with a roll of toilet paper in between two figures and then slowly unroll it down to the paper core. And then the lights would go out and everybody would go, oh, that's hilarious. And it would be, surreal stuff like that. It wasn't until 86 and they brought in the rest of Second City touring and stuff like that that it sort of formalized to a narrative game-based structure where two teams competed for artificial points, whatever the audience held up, right?
Yeah.
Nobody cared. And the team name changed every weekend, so it wasn't like you're following one team
Yeah.
ad infinitum. It was like you had a core group of 40 who was available that weekend. Just you slam two teams together, and then that would be it. You just go and perform like that. I know I got a call one time. Not enough people were there, so it was just Gary Jones and I. And Gary was like, "Oh, there's just two of us." I said, "Well, let's just you and me be a team. We'll just be in every scene." "Oh, can we do that?" Like that was like such a radical idea, just a 2-person improv team. Like, of course we can. And then we did, and it was like, oh my God, it was amazing. And it's so much fun. And so, went like that.
One of you was a napkin ring and the other was doing the toilet paper.
Yeah, yeah. Luckily, we moved beyond napkin ring and toilet paper, but there was some surreal scenes. I mean, Jones would just try to throw you for a loop. He did one where he was it was supposed to be a heartfelt scene between brothers, and all he did is come on and go gah ah ah, and he just like did gibberish, like emotional, crazy gibberish that he can't express. And then I'm the one going, no, it's all right, David. I understand. Clearly, we've had an argument with money in the past. And then I had to carry the narrative for the whole 5 minutes of like full, argument and arc it too, right? To a resolution. Well, he's just going around making idiotic noises. It's hilarious.
That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. There was a couple scenes, yeah, where we made each other work. I think we did a scene based, I think this suggestion was scene based on Saturn. And so I come out because Saturn is a larger planet, the gravity would make your body heavier. So I was doing all these gags, like just trying to get up off the floor because the door's knocking. We have a door set and a window set, right, on stage. And someone's knocking at the door. So I'm crossing the stage as if gravity's 50 times higher. And I was taking modern dance at theater school at the time. So I had this, physical comedy repertoire. And so my extra gravity work was apparently stellar. So that was getting laughs coming across. And then when I open it, Gary Jones comes out as a jellyfish and he's flapping his arms and his legs going, hey, gravity doesn't affect me. I'm your jellyfish roommate. And it's like, you bastard. Why didn't you open the door? The argument between you and your jellyfish roommate on Saturn. You know how you have it. And then in the second half, we're doing a scene and I forget what the S, but I open the door and he falls out and we're on Earth. And so now gravity's normal, but he's the jellyfish and he can't handle being on land in Earth. He's great on Saturn, but on Earth, he's just struggling on the floor. And so it's a kind of a status reversal thing that was pretty hilarious. So, not to say we didn't do surreal things, but we didn't just do napkin rings and paper toilet.
That was just the two of you for the entire show, or
Yeah. And now we still perform together. We do a benefit in San Jose for a Indian health center, and they fly us out, and we do a 45-minute show, just the two of us, no intermission, no judging or anything like that, just a series of games and scenes and stuff like that. And it's still hilarious. We make each other laugh so much. It's That's the joy of improv. You find someone you can jam with for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Do you call yourselves Jellyfish and Earthling, or?
No, just Dean and Gary.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, no, I know. Yeah, that would be hard to explain that whole scenario if we did that.
This show is
Okay.
50% set up.
Totally. So in the year 1993, you see, no, we don't do that. But yeah, we continue. He got on to Stargate. In fact, he auditioned to be one of the lone gunmen on the X Files originally. And we thought, oh my gosh, if we both get this, that is going to be off the charts. Even though X Files wasn't a show, and it was only going to be one day originally.
Yeah.
So I got it, he didn't. But then almost 6 months later, he got on the Stargate SG-1 as Walter Harriman, the guy who opens the Stargate. He's the computer operator. So we were both computer operators. So then we go to sci-fi conventions together, and then we reenact Stargate episodes. And I would be Amanda and Teal and all those characters. And we improvise one of those, and it'd be hilarious. And then we bring back, I played Spock, he played Kirk in the Star Trek musical. And so we'd sometimes bring that back when they go to another planet, and it'd be Jim and Spock on the planet. It's like, it's very funny.
Yeah, the deep cut is that the jellyfish's name was Jim and the Earthling's name was Spock. It just never came out.
It never came around. Yeah, we didn't think to keep that going.
Now, you mentioned theater school. Was that a goal when you moved, or did that come later? And when did the comedy bug turn into the acting bug?
Technically, I had the acting bug because I was in a junior acting school in Winnipeg called Prairie Theatre Exchange.
Okay.
And they had an after-school program to develop actors. And so from there, I met a girl. She lived in Vancouver. I moved to Vancouver with her and went to Simon Fraser University and wasn't just the theater program. It was one of the few universities that taught performance art. So you learned modern dance, visual art, theater, and music simultaneously, and visual art. So I had a huge workload. And theoretically, I'm trained as a performance artist, believe it or not. However, there's a limited capacity to enjoy performance art, and particularly if you are doing surreal improv performance art stuff. So I then focused getting paid by doing theater and stand-up comedy, and then theater sports. Because I continued doing stand-up while I was at theater sports. And that they told you in the acting program, don't do any performing while you're in training because we're reshaping your brain and the way you perform. So you're going to pick up bad habits if you're doing stand-up or you're doing improv. And I went, you guys don't know nothing. And so I did both at the same time. So I get up at 7 a.m., get to university by 8, work all day, get on a bus, and then get to the clubs and go to about 11, sleep and do it all over again. About 4 to 5 years, yeah.
Did any of your instructors or professors ever say, Dean, these are the bad habits we're seeing that are forming?
No, they said I was developing some weird tics and I was laughing a lot in serious scenes. But that was, I just think nervous energy. And it was only doing that in rehearsal. Come performance, it was some terrifying dance shows that I did. That terrified everyone. Lots of screaming, stop, angst-ridden. But other than that, terrible habits. No, in fact, the theater school influenced the theater sports because they work to get you connected, your voice to your emotional range and your voice into a multi-octave range as well. And then physically to open up and use your whole instrument as an expressive device. So when you take that to an improv stage versus someone who's just come from doing stand-up and is trying to just say some witty things,
yeah,
versus inhabiting a character and bringing it, and then having your mind working in terms of what you're saying and stuff like that. It was definitely a benefit on my part that I don't think other performers had. They were funny for sure, but not all of them could do the splits or know how to fall correctly without hurting themselves.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
I mean, it seems like a good pairing in my mind, that to be, especially all of the performance art stuff. It would have been amazing to have all of that at the same time to be learning all of that stuff in one place,
Yeah.
even though it was a lot of work.
Even though it was a lot of work, yeah, but it paid off. A lot of my choices in terms of what school I went to were based on women I was living with. So it was sort of cork on the waves for sure. But yeah, Simon Fraser University is not renowned in any case. It is in Canada, but no one's ever heard of it. Everybody thinks I went to a university with two gay dads. It's like Simon and Fraser. They're both, that doesn't sound right at all. But he was the first mate of Captain Cook and the first guy to navigate the Fraser River. I guess it starts at Yellowknife, and he canoed from Yellowknife to Vancouver and marked it all. And that's a dangerous, dangerous trip to do in a canoe. There's a place called Hell's Gate where the rapids are so deadly they go in different directions, and to get through it other than a pontoon boat is almost impossible. So yeah, hats off to Simon Fraser. Hence why we named a university after him.
Yeah, and also, ironically, the TV show Simon and Simon named after him, as well as Frasier.
Is that true? I don't think that's true.
Probably not.
Probably not. But same thing. What if I went to Simon and Simon University?
Yeah.
You would think, yeah, two gay dads are detectives, one
Yeah.
of the two.
Macmillan and Wife University. So you were auditioning then, because there were other productions happening in Vancouver here and there, and then X-Files came along.
Yeah.
But you were auditioning, I presume, for other things.
For sure. Because theater sports blew up, a lot of agencies came to see what all the chatter was about, and then they would like approach you and say, "Hey, man, you want to sign to my agency?" and stuff like that. And so, yeah, so then you go out, and Stephen J. Cannell built the studios up in Vancouver. He fell in love with that city and realized it could be used in so many variations because they had so many different looks to it. So he shot shows like The Commish and Street Justice and 21 Jump Street, of course. All of those were started shooting there. And it was inexpensive. The Canadian dollar was 40 cents lower than the US dollar. It had a separate acting union that had different rules, buyouts instead of residuals, for instance. And so, yeah, I think my first role, I was a bad guy on The Commish. And then I was another bad guy in The Commish. And then I was a drug dealer on Street Justice. And then I was a crackhead in a movie of the week with Lorenzo Lamas and Billy D. Williams. And then, yeah, it was just a lot of low budget stuff. And then the X Files technically was just another TV show in that first season, right? It's like nobody heard of it.
Yeah.
My agent said, "Go audition for this X Files thing." What's X Files? I don't know, FBI agents and aliens or something. It's like, oh, crap. Is this all going to be such load of, like, okay, whatever. And then I go, and the scene we do is from the first season, episode 13. And in that scene, I'm on the phone for half of it. So I'm there with two casting agents and some producers that I've never known or never met before. And I had the long blonde hair. And I go, I got to take this call. And I'm just sitting there like this. And the two casting agents are reading the other lone gunman lines. I go, this is the dumbest audition I've ever been to. This is so stupid. And so they went, okay, great. And I leave. And then I get a call. Yeah, they want you to come back and audition again. Oh, I go, why? I did it. And like, well, they might want you to read for another part, or they might have other actors there for you to read against. And so technically they cast Langley first, then had to figure out a buyer. So I was reading against all these buyers, and there were like different comedians and funny actors from Vancouver that I knew. And it was like, oh, so we're doing this really comedically. And then they realized, oh, we got to do it seriously. And then they said, okay, and so Frohickey has to be a short Weasley guy, like the first AD, Tom, because he was the first AD on the show. And it turns out Tom had acting training from University of British Columbia, but he also had kids, so he took up assistant directing work.
Yeah.
And so they go, yeah, sure, I'd do it. It's just one episode. What's that going to hurt? And then from that one episode, it was the early days of the internet. So a early ARPANET, I think, or some chat group said, "Aha! Look at this. This proves the producers and writers are lurking in our site here. They're reading our mail threads, and because they did three characters that are exactly our community." And then it turns out that was true. So they were taking lines from that community and giving them to us to say, so that it became this the very first fan performer symbiotic relationship
Yeah.
that ever happened. And now that's expected, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's a common thing, but that was the first one to sort of navigate and how to build that relationship and further stir the pot to get more ratings and eyeballs.
And when did you know that it was going to be more than one episode? Did you have any feeling before the phone call, or was it?
No, no. So yeah, but I don't know, 4 months later, we got a call. Yeah, they want you back for another one. Another one. Yeah, but you do the same characters. You don't have to audition. Oh, well, that's sweet. Okay, so we do that. And then here's where I knew it was going to be permanent, the props guy. So if you look at the first season, my glasses are different every episode because the props guy just had a big Ziploc bag of black horn rimmed glasses, all of them different. And he goes, "Oh, hey, you're back here. Just pick." It's like, and then I threw him back into the bag afterwards. And then he finally goes about 4 episodes. Okay, which one? Do you remember which one you wore? Because I go, so maybe it was this one. And like, okay, I'm going to set these aside for you from my giant plastic Ziploc bag of prop glasses. So these will just be Langley's glasses from now on. I like, from now on, you think we're coming back? They go, yeah, you guys are coming back. And then, then the press started kicking in and the fan magazines and all that sort of thing. So that's how that came. So there was no indication of like, oh yeah, we're writing you guys as regulars. It was just like, oh, we need to cut 20 pages out. How do we get Mulder and Scully from here to inside alien autopsy room? Oh, we'll hack them in. Oh yeah, no. Okay, we got you in. It's like, oh, okay.
While you were filming those, I'm assuming then when you're not on set for that, since you weren't you were regulars, but you weren't like regular, right? You're there all the time. You're still doing
Right.
improv
Yes.
at Theater Sports.
Yeah. In fact, I haven't seen all the episodes of the X Files because they were on Friday nights, and I would be doing 3 shows Friday night. So I'd be out by 5 and home by 4 in the morning, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, I'll watch it one day, and I still haven't. So that's terrible. I haven't seen all the X Files. So
You got to have a goal.
yeah, it got cool. Well, yeah. If I watch them now, I get resids, so I'll just do that in the loop.
Yeah, just leave them on the TV. You don't have to watch them. Just
I
let them.
don't have to watch them. Just play them in the background while I'm doing dishes.
Not just in X Files, but any of your acting. Are you drawing from? Do you find you draw from, or notice that you're drawing from improv specifically, or is it more because you had sort of a holistic education? It's more just drawing from that.
It became more and more improv became a habit. And remarkably, there's a lot of improvisers I know that have actually taken medication for ADHD because you're drawn to, hey, little rehearsal, don't have to memorize lines.
Yeah.
You get in, you get out. And it's very helpful if you forget your show you did immediately so that your mind is clear for the next time.
Okay.
That you're not repeating gags that you're like, oh, you know what kills when I do this thing? You don't know that. So that you go, oh, I have no idea what I did. And still people come up to me and go, hey, remember you did that scene with the chainsaw and the thing? And I go, no, I do not remember that. Yeah, so that then went, oh, well, that's an easier way to work than having to memorize lines or having Chris Carter hand you handwritten lines at 3 a.m. on set after you've been shooting all night. And he goes, hey, I've changed the scene that you're about to do. After you worked on this thing for how many days and stuff, and you have to go to a trailer and memorize these lines and make choices immediately. And so that's where improv really helped, is what kind of choices do you make immediately so that you can go back, even if you have memorized lines, give your subtext the ability to freeform and improv under it. So that was very helpful, particularly at 3 a.m. on a rewrite. And then, some characters that came up on stage, you sort of find yourself doing, but there wasn't a lot of room for improv in the X Files because the plots were so tight that they would get kind of pissed at, the gunmen were always called to set at 8 p.m. And then we sit around till about 1 a.m. till we did our scene because they knew there was no special effects. They didn't have to set up anything. It's just light it, turn the cameras on, the guys say their lines. Was it in English? Fine, get out. Everybody's exhausted. So you didn't have really time to go, oh, Mulder, if you say this, then we'll go off on a tangent like this. Everybody would just go, cut. What are you doing? Stop it. We got to get out of here. 4, come on. So, it was like, be professional, say the lines as written, do your bit, get out. And so it went like that for numerous seasons.
Yeah. That's really interesting what you're saying about, or the subtext in that. I would imagine that being an improviser, or those that are trained in improv, are able to make choices quicker than others. I mean, I'm just dealing with like some community theater stuff, and some people don't make any choices ever.
Isn't that true?
Yeah. So as an improviser, yeah, being able to do that. So because of what you've told me, a random question about the series Lone Gunman.
Mm-hmm.
Considering that you had this holistic education, how is it that Tom ended up being the one that did the tango?
Yeah, isn't that funny? I have actual dance experience. And they actually sent all 3 of us to tango lessons. But I had come off of a flight. I think I just did a club somewhere down in the southern states. So it was a long flight back to Vancouver to get to this thing. And I was like, okay, I have dance experience. I know how to dance the tango. And the instructor she was very precise and thought I was just another idiot actor. And so we danced. And she goes, oh, you do know? Yeah, but I'm not. I get killed because it's a fantasy sequence. So I'm not dancing the tango.
Yeah.
They gave it to Tom, and so she goes, "Oh, well, lesson's finished." She didn't want to deal with me. So, but everybody thought, "Oh, it'd be funnier if Tom was the tango guy," because also, unbeknownst to any of us, a sci-fi magazine in London voted him one year the sexiest man in science fiction. And we all laughed. We brought it to set. Go, what? It was like, yeah, they said, because he's always hot for Scully, and he was always,
Yeah.
like this, like, oh man, what is that guy? Just a completely different energy than your Bo, hunks, the hunky idiots, that you get for leading men. So yeah, that year it was hilarious. And so that was the year, oh, well, he should be the swarthy ex-tango dancer from building on him being the sexiest man in science fiction.
Were you ever voted any superlative?
No, no, thankfully, most on time, I guess, basically. That would be it. No, I sort of eschew awards. I don't even like I tell my agent, don't say great audition when I send them in, because it's like, that will screw me up for the next one. You become self-conscious, basically, if you get too much feedback in your head.
Yeah.
You see it all the time in performers. So I said, I don't want to read reviews. I don't want to hear if you thought that thing was great or not, because also the one time you don't say it, then I'll know you hated it.
Yeah.
And then that'll send me into a different spiral altogether, right? So just keep it neutral. Just say thank you for your work. This is how I was trained in this theater school. It was just say, when you see somebody do a play, it's one of your fellow students doing a play, don't annihilate them with praise or criticism. Just say thank you for your work. It's neutral. Thank you for performing it. And you'll know how you did inside. You don't need anybody else's external pressures to alter your performance. It's why
Yeah.
Johnny Depp's never seen one of his movies. I don't think he saw Jump Street either, by all accounts. So
as not to get any ideas about how good or how ill he did?
yeah, you get neurotic. I mean, you see all these TikTok stars and stuff like that really feed on the feedback loop,
Yeah.
and that neuroses then really affects your ability to be grounded and do a truthful performance. And frankly, you won't even know what truthful performance is anymore, as you see in many reality shows that
Yeah.
now affect how people do conflict resolution by throwing wine glasses at each other. That kind of thing is not really human nature or reality, but to observe it now is almost impossible because everybody has their face on the phone. So to try and emulate human nature on stage or in front of a camera, particularly difficult unless you have training that goes back to the 80s and 90s, basically.
Well, didn't Meisner have a wine glass technique?
I am the wine glass. You're the wine glass. Shut up. Yeah, right.
Tangentially related with the success, I don't know at what point that word would have been appropriate to use for the gunman, especially. But did you find that, especially in your stage work, was it more difficult to break out of that type that Langley is, and or was it more difficult for the audience to see you as something other than the Langley type?
No, because up till then I was doing drug dealers and crackheads with the long blonde hair, right? So Langley was actually the breaking of the stereotype. And also the compliment was, I'm sure the script said computer nerd, which I don't think it ever did, but the idea that computer nerds up till then had the horn rimmed glasses and the pocket protector, and they weren't wearing Ramones t-shirts,
Right.
and they weren't, right? And everybody at Simon Fraser in the computer science department that I knew, I had a punk band with half of them, and the other half were doing sound software for Skid Row, I think, the band. They were all designing arena metal rock software to balance EQ machines and stuff like that. So all of these guys had cool connections, rock and roll roots, doing wild things on computers and with instruments, and like really experimental stuff that I was doing in a non-digital world. Mine was a three-dimensional live space, but the mindset was similar. And so when I brought that to Langley, I was like, oh no, this guy would be into all sorts of stuff. And of course, he would know how to go through software and computers and stuff like that because it's all brand new and experimental and forging a path through a landscape, basically.
It does seem like a lot of that made it into the character. Was that just noticed by the writers or by Chris, and then the character was imbued with it, or like how did that relationship work? Because he wasn't just a computer nerd.
No, and it was written. The two writers that did a lot of the early scripts and stuff like that, and they went on to do the serial killer series, Millennium. But they had witnessed some guys at the airport handing out UFO pamphlets. So one was in a leather jacket, one was in a suit, and the other one was some sort of rocker, right? And they were all like, "Dear, the truth about UFOs." And they thought, "Oh, that's really funny. We should put that into a TV show one day." And so they had written it so that there's three diverse guys, and mine had a Ramones shirt on. And so that was the extent of the clues that you
Okay.
got, basically,
Yeah.
right? And so it was like, oh, okay, so we have to be diverse. So I have to be as different from Frohickey and from Byers as I possibly can. And so basically checking their performance, Bruce played it very straight and straight edge. So I was allowed to be a little more lighter sense of humor, as it were. And sort of a lot of my body posture would be leaning back or leaning forward instead of standing upright. So I don't know if you noticed that, but that was a lot of the choices I made were like leaning or forwarding or like hunched over. Whereas Bruce often just stood there, arms at the side, and shot all his lines straight out. And then Tom, of course, was already hunched over because of the hard work, because he was still first AD on every second episode. So he was prepping the next show while doing lines for our show. He was just like, could you concentrate, Tom, please? Because he'd be on the phone immediately when the yell cut, talking to the line producers and set scouts, location scouts for the next episode coming up. So it was doubly hard on him than either of us two. So based on that, I guess they saw that and sort of wrote to that sort of thing. But at no time did anybody come up and say, oh, okay. Because it was different directors. So they were always coming in just sort of doing traffic control and then, getting scenes right. Kim Manners was brilliant, but at no time they said, oh, we want your character to be more blank.
Yeah.
No one ever said that to me. It was like, you got the free reign to choose how you want to paint this, man. It was great.
Yeah.
Rare in any television show, for sure.
As far as your process goes, it does sound like you're obviously drawing on a lot of your experience at Simon Fraser and improv as well. Did you think about, okay, he's going to lean here, or he's, that this is going to be his posture, or was it just instinctive for you because of all the stage time you've had and all of the characters you'd played?
Yeah, most of it was instinctive. A couple of times I knew the focus puller would have to work if I was going to do like reach over here to pick up the phone and then I'm going to kick my feet up and talk on the phone like this. So I'd say, okay, Doug, I'm going here. This is position one. This will be position two. And then you can have the choice to cross from my thing to the bottom of my sneakers if you want, or stay sneakers out of focus as my feet are up and I'm talking back here. It's your choice, right? Sort of thing. And so he goes, oh, thanks. And then he would measure each position that I was in. And then when the scene comes, this was all just natural, right? And kick up. It just all felt that's what the character would do, right?
Yeah.
Just sort of like loosen it up like that. And, you know I had many a stand in because I'd often sit and talk like this, right? And they go, we were told in acting class, never put your hand on your face when you're performing. Never stick your fist to your cheek and put your elbow on a counter and deliver lines. Well, why not? I do that all the time in real life. It's like, yeah, but your face gets smudged up and your words come out funny. I go, yeah, like I do that in real life all the time, right? It's like, oh, and like to them it was a revelation that you could like hear a rule and then you can break that rule, which is what improv is at
Yeah.
the best of times, right? I was always surprised when I came down to LA and started working with people, particularly I guess I don't know if it's Chicago based, but it's like, oh, we do a Herald and it's scene A, scene B, scene C, and then scene A, scene C, scene B. I'm like, what? Man, it's like jazz music. You just hear what the other guys are doing and you riff in bass lines or high melody, like however you want to accent it, or you can drive the melody hard and hope everyone else surfs behind you, man. It's like you can flow like that.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? No, no, no. You got to do this, this, and this. I'm like, "Ugh, how do you even enjoy improv like that? Like, it's like, oh my God, that sounded miserable. And so I just watched Space is the Place. And I don't know much about jazz. I know Dave Brubeck does a 5/8 register. There's some things you can do in jazz that allow for experimentation and the standard that everybody gets a solo. That's kind of a trope. But Sun Ra was this 70s cosmic war Egyptian headwear and is known as the most prolific artist in all time, had almost 1,000 recordings because he would improvise on a synthetic keyboards. But to me, it was fascinating because it was without form. It was music that was so shapeless, it was cosmic. And so in my improv, sometimes I get accused of it being so unbelievably crazy that it's hilarious, but it's also on a linear path to somewhere else. This is why Gary and I work so well together, because it's like we kind of know where each other is going to go, sort of thing. And then you can also F with it and not piss everybody off. For instance, we did a scene. What's the reason to get fired? Oh, you punched your boss. Thank you very much. We begin the scene. I come, stand on stage. Gary Jones is on his hands and knees. Right away, the thought is, oh, I've just punched my boss. My line should be, oh, you'll get another if I don't get that raise, right? That should have been the first thing out of my mouth.
Yeah.
What did I say? Because I knew it'd be funnier. Henderson, get in here. And he goes, sorry, boss, I was just being your coffee table. And then he comes in to justify why he's on his hands and knees. Yes, you make an excellent coffee table, but I'm going to fire you. And then the scene goes from there. Now, any other performer would go, Haglund, that was obviously an offer that I got punched in the face. I'm down on my hands and knees on the stage. I go, yeah, but it was funnier if I said, Henderson, come in here and meet you. And just take it. So it's like, it's that takes 30 years of improvising together to have that kind of level of trust, right? And also, hey, man, I set this thing up, blah, blah, blah. You didn't follow. And it's sort of like, yeah, well, somebody set a drum beat and I played 5/8 register on my saxophone. So you should have shifted to the 5/8 register. And we should have found that organically. We shouldn't be here yelling about it here in the green room afterwards. So
Yeah.
that's hard to find those performers that will do that with you.
Yeah. To me, that is part of the magic of improv,
Right.
live improv, especially. And one of the reasons why live theater, I think, is going to be around and can't really be subsumed by the internet stuff, because being there and being in the moment, because in that moment we're watching that scene between you guys, but we're also watching you play with your scene partner, and that's part of the show. That's part of what makes improv magic. Is, yes, we all know that, or we can all see that this line would be appropriate, and I know it and he knows it, but I'm going to say something else, and that's part of the magic of it.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of the laughs from improv come from the unexpected, right? That everybody knows that this is clearly the scene. The lights are up. He's on the ground. I'm standing. I punched him. But then you go, Henderson, come in here. You flip that scene almost instantly. That gets a huge laugh.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well, that is magic, really. And you're not doing it to be a dick. That's
Right.
the other thing. Is that, that's never the purpose of it. But it's more to, you make these choices in a split second, almost to the point as it's coming out of your mouth. When I teach improv, I try to teach, there's a couple techniques you can do where your impulse to say something is simultaneously to it coming out of your mouth at the same time. Your mouth is working at the speed of thought, as opposed to thinking about something, contemplating how you're going to phrase it, and then saying the line. It's the idea that as your mouth opens, the thought is connected to the tongue and the breath of the diaphragm, and it all comes out exactly at the same time. And so once you have it down to that level of speed, of thought to voice to instantly saying it, then you'll find the amazing stuff.
Yeah.
That you're not editing or going, oh, what's the funny thing to do here? Or, ooh, what's the, trying to overthink it. It's just the speed of thought to your mouth is the challenge of teaching young improvers.
Yeah, I love that. I've heard, be in the moment, you want to be in the moment, but I don't think I've ever heard it articulated that way. And I love that because it's simultaneous.
Yeah, because you can be in the moment and be thinking
Yeah.
about what you want to say, or what's the funniest thing to say, or what will move the scene forward. All of these things, but to translate it to direct thought to voice to action, basically thought to action, be it physical or vocal, at the exact same time as you're thinking it, is really key. So there's no filters, there's no judgments, there's no, oh, I got to, or even your body being restricted, right? Oh, I want to do this with my arm, but I have a sore shoulder. Well, work out that shoulder before you get on stage, please. That kind of thing. So, yeah, that took me about 2 years to get there, of constant work and work in theater's class, voice class, other classes as well that I continued doing even after university. So, yeah, I know. And then I teach it, and people go, "No, the other teacher said we should just sing songs, or here we don't do narrative. We're told not to do narrative. Just come up with crazy characters." And I'm like, oh my god.
Is this scene A or B that you're doing?
Yeah, exactly. I don't understand where we are in the Herald. Like, oh my god, you guys.
That's it for part 1 of my interview with Dean Haglund. Go listen to his podcast if you haven't. Go find me on Patreon for some dumb and fun content, including my latest phone prov with Charles Fryerman, Twilight Phone, and some other random bonus content. Make sure you come back to catch part 2 of Dean's interview as well. Thanks for listening to Improv Autopsy.